Hi, it's Matthew Goodwin-Freeman. Welcome to the VoteWatch Deep Dive discussion. With me today is Mohona Datta, the Marketing Director of GetElected UK. Mohona, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks so much, Matthew. Good to see you again. Not like I saw you
Thank you.
yesterday.
Thank you very much. So, Mohona, you are an MBA student, aren't you? And you've come to talk to us about the state of the British economy, which, I mean, we've only got an hour. We could probably fill up an entire book by this point, couldn't we?
Yeah, so I'm an MBA student that used to work in finance, and this is really close to my heart because, yeah, I'm used to work full time, and now I'm back studying. So there's a lot of reason and logic, and also the state of economy behind that decision. So I still keep up with the markets, and I still have thoughts and opinions on what our government could be doing and should be doing to improve things.
Brilliant. Well, I want to know what those thoughts or opinions are. So obviously Labour came in with this massive majority. Rachel, or should we say Rachel from Accounts, became the first female chancellor. Did anyone recognise that? Because she didn't tell us all, didn't she? And obviously we had the talking down of Britain's economy from day dot of the Labour government right through till Halloween last year, where we
Yeah.
had this horror budget. What? Just the first question, what on earth are they doing? What is Rachel doing? What are Labour doing? Is this how you're supposed to govern a country and manage the economy?
No, and of course, Labour were very quick to criticise the previous government for doing what they could with the economy, given that we had COVID, we had, massive disruptions. And I think what the previous government were trying to do was actually a sensible, balanced approach of not trying to increase debt too much, not trying to put a strain on working people, and ploughing ahead with all of their great plans. I think Rishi was trying to take a very measured approach. And people didn't like that. But now that Rachel has come in and showing the British people what happens when you do go a bit crazy, saying we're going to plow ahead with like idealism and what we think is right, and you're going to suffer the consequences. I can have to do anything it takes to justify our government spending, right? So because she's trying to go in with we're not going to increase taxes, her solution is growth. This quite
Yeah,
airy idea that a
yeah.
lot of people aren't familiar with of okay, that's great. How do we actually grow the economy? And
Well, this was one of the things. So obviously, I've always been happy to hold my hand up and say where the Conservative Party messed up. But actually, what the Conservative Party left Labour at the end of the government was debt falling and a plan to get rid of the country's debt.
yeah,
Growth actually growing, not fantastic numbers, but growing more than we are now. Inflation falling, interest rates getting cut, and actually then taxes being cut as well. 2% off national insurance. What we've
yeah,
actually seen now is Rachel from Accounts say that there's a 22 billion black hole, which she can't verify and no one can verify. Months and months of talking down the economy. Then we had the Halloween budget, which not only whacked up national insurance, whacked up debt to the highest levels in British history, and went and borrowed billions and billions. I mean,
mm,
we're talking about growth, and the figures come out about growth being absolutely pitiful, celebrating 0.5%, 0.1%. It's an utter
exist.
joke. And so my question is Rachel right to go for growth? We've heard about trying to increase the pie. Obviously, Liz Truss tried to do that as well. Is Rachel right for going for growth, or is actually Rachel Reeves crashed the economy?
So, yeah, I mean, they did inherit inflation at its target level, and high rates of interest cuts that the Bank of England was starting to ease. They held off on easing it for a while now, and let's see if they continue to do that because no one is sure what's happening anymore. All governments are right to try to increase growth. The more an economy grows, the better people's pensions are, the more they're earning, the better business is certain about their future earnings, the more they hire. So it's all great talking about growth, but what is she actually doing to try to achieve that? Imposing national insurance on businesses. That's quite funny. That's not the way anyone would react positively to.
Yeah,
And the ideas of 30 for a runway, which, whether that achieves growth or not, that will take decades to actually
absolutely.
determine, right?
Absolutely. It won't
Look
be
at the
here for
last
decades, will
time.
it?
Exactly. And look at last time we tried to do a national infrastructure project with HS2, how badly that's gone, is trying to negotiate, land and management and things around West London, the most efficient use of government time and money right now. I don't think it is.
So we're going for growth is the course that we're heading. We want to talk about Heathrow. We want to talk about all these massive infrastructure projects on the back of Labour cutting loads of projects as well to fill this void of a black hole. The budget also had silly gimmicks like 1p off a pint. I mean, was that literally just? I mean, pubs are actually increasing prices. So thank you very much for the penny off, but the pint's actually gone up £2 or something like that since. I mean, what is Rachel Reeves on the right track for going with growth? Do we think she's actually going to get there? Do we think the things that she's saying are going to get us to that destiny, or does she need to change course and change course quickly?
100% change course, focus on the economy, focus on projects that will actually bring us into the 21st century and create jobs in industries that are growing. None of that seems to be happening. And yeah, faffing around with the beer tax or increasing wine, making it's not a cost division if you think about it, like, oh, more money for you, but I don't like people that drink wine, so I'm going to make it more expensive to them. At the end of the day, that industry, hospitality, has been struggling for years now post-COVID. What's practically been done to help them? Well, their staff costs have all gone up because of national insurance increases. So it's all kittens when you look at what they've actually been asking for and the labour shortages they've actually been trying to address.
And we've seen it in London, where we had a Labour mayor of London. As much as anyone likes to think London's governed by a central party, it's governed by the mayor of London. Sadiq Khan, my favourite friend, is the mayor of London. And in London, we have pubs and clubs closing at record levels. So it just goes to show that where Labour are in charge, things go wrong. And the whole country is now seeing that. But you talked about the national insurance increase. I mean, just explain that to our viewers, because Labour promised in their manifesto that they weren't going to increase national insurance, but then it appears they have. So what have they done here?
So it feels like a stealth tax, right? Because no one thinks of national insurance as a tax, but it actually is. And there's no pot that national insurance goes into to protect our pensions or anything. It's going straight to people's current pensions, and God knows what will happen to our pensions when we get to that age, etc. So it's a sort of covert way of doing it, but by increasing the employers' national insurance, which is a burden among businesses, what you're really doing is eating into their profits after they've already been struggling and already been making massive job cuts across industries and across the board. And bear in mind, the UK is very much a service sector economy. So about 80% of our industry is coming from employing people. You make it more difficult for businesses to employ people, well, those people aren't going to be very well off. And then there's a whole scandal also going on at the same time with how we're measuring employment and unemployment rates. The ONS has just come out and put their hands up and said, actually, you know what? The labour force survey doesn't work. We don't know how accurate it is.
There we go.
Yes.
The Office of National Statistics doesn't know how it works. Well, that says it all, because frankly, the ONS has been rubbish from day dot. They've been absolutely off the ball. I mean, you just talked there about the employment survey. I've never understood with this whole working from home, this whole working remotely debate, which we could go on to that for a long, long time. But the whole thing that I've never understood is people saying, oh, working from home is so much better, that people get so much more done. That's according to surveys that you've asked them to fill out. It's not according to their bosses. It's not according to the businesses. It's not according to the accountants who say, actually, the company's losing millions because everyone's out playing golf instead of being on meetings. So, like, you cannot rely on the person to tell you whether they think they're more productive or not working from home, because the answer is going to be, of course they are.
But I mean, even when it comes to productivity, we're saying the ONS has measured that there's low levels of unemployment in the economy. And if we were to, that's due to like chronic illness or something, if we were to increase that, it means our productivity is then worse, because, you know, the economy we had and the productivity you mentioned with the unemployment figures will actually come down to people who are working less. But actually, controversially, I have my theories on why this is and why.
Go on, we love controversial opinions here. Go on, give it to us.
So ONS's theory that is the reason they can't the ONS's reasoning behind not being able to collect this data is because people have Ring doorbells now. You'll like this, Matthew, because it's the same reason as
our favourite Ring doorbells.
Yeah, so they can't get into high-rise flats, and they can't get past people's Ring doorbells, which is why they've not been able to accurately speak to people and do this survey. Do you think there was a digital way to do this by now, but apparently implementing that will take 2 years? I don't know if you just like scamming them, telling them it takes 2 years to build a digital survey, but
Ridiculous.
so no, I think my controversial take is that there are a lot more people either unemployed or underemployed than this survey is measuring, because this survey just looks at, are you in full-time work or a student or something else? Great, you're employed. And everyone else that may be working 2 jobs, maybe they're living off like pittance self-employed income, they're working as a delivery driver, or they've gone back to university because they can't find work at the level that they were qualified for before, like myself. We are not unemployed, according to the Labour Force survey. So we need to rethink exactly what we mean by employment. Is it everyone just has a job that gives them something, or is it the people that are qualified for jobs, suppress the economy, are working in those jobs, or are they having to drop out, work multiple part-time jobs, look after family? You know, these looking after family counts as employment. You know, it's all of
the
these
very
nuances.
the very own survey that the fantastic ONS, who apparently back up everything that Rachel from Accounts is saying, isn't even asking the right questions. I mean, no wonder the country's going down the pan. No wonder people look over to America and think, God, look what they've got with Trump coming in and brand new start and kicking out all the old dust. Finally, America's on the up. Well, now we're down the pan, according to... it's infuriating. I mean, one question I guess I should probably ask you is about the US. And obviously, we've seen in the coming weeks since Trump came into power, the tariff war and the trade war that's exploded around the world. Trump seems to think that tariffs are a good thing. Are they a good thing?
They're a good thing in the short term for the US economy, in short. Because...
So in the short term, tariffs are a good thing. But what we're seeing now is Trump using tariffs to get decision-making on other things. So an example I'll give you is Mexico. Trump whacked on tariffs to Mexico and said, you're going to take these tariffs or else. And what he wanted in collateral was for Mexico to take back illegal migrants.
Right.
And in the end, Mexico capitulated, agreed to take back illegal migrants, and Trump took the tariffs away within the space of 24 hours. Now, is that soft power? Is that actually how tariffs should be used to try and leverage other decisions? Or is this just Trump being a businessman?
And this is why I'm saying in the short term, using it as the negotiation tool is great, because it's forcing people to come back to the table of the agreements they had for donkey's years, inherited from previous governments, and look at actually, if we want to be a part of a trade bloc with the US, if we want, to keep our relations with them open, we have to renegotiate the terms on some things. So the UK now has to really decide who's it going to side with on this, because there's EU pressure to side with the EU because they're going to be hit with these tariffs where we're speculating. But the UK might escape by a technicality. So we have to decide.
We have to pick our friends between the EU, who were so wonderful to us when we said we wanted to leave, and our friends America, who've been by our side since the dawn of time. I can make that decision for you now, Keir Starmer. It's America all the way. Do you not agree?
I agree, and the worst thing we want to avoid is being hit with 20% tariffs like the EU if we are lumped in with them as seen to Trump as an opposition, an enemy, which will bring our growth projections down from, I think, 1.1%, or if we had a 20% tariff with the US, our single biggest trading partner, that's not, a bloc like the EU, down to 0.2% growth this year, which is way off.
There you go, got the champagne, 0.2% growth. Congratulations, Britain, you're on the up. Well done, Rachel, we've grown up. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We're patting ourselves here about 0.2%. I mean, 0.2% is nothing. It's frankly nothing. We see other countries around the world hitting 6%, 7%, 9%. We're celebrating 0.2 in that sense. One of the things I read the other day when we were talking about the start of the trade war was a report that said if we do get lumped in, not only will it have that impact on our growth, but it will cost us around £2.5 billion a year in tariffs. Jesus. Now, that is more than what the savings were to cut the winter fuel allowance for all those pensioners. So you, in one sense, in one decision that Trump could make, completely eradicate the whole argument of the cutting of winter fuel allowance for pensioners. Keir Starmer needs to avoid tariffs from the Americans as a first resort, because in the fury that he's had over the winter fuel payment cuts, imagine the fury he's going to get then if businesses are told, oh, by the way, you now have this tariff to pay.
Exactly. And not to mention that so many of the UK service businesses are transnational American firms. So many of us are employed by massive American corporations in this country. Imagine if they were to start withdrawing from London as a financial centre, or the UK as a service sector as a whole. That would be utterly disastrous for us. So I think we should choose our friends wisely and align with ourselves with the people that are looking for growth, looking to stop the prominence of, China taking over the world economy and flooding our markets with cheaply produced things. We should really be on the side of developed economies, trying to do something, trying to be ahead of AI, trying to be ahead of cutting edge technologies. And I don't see why we don't do more of that in this country. It's not like we don't have the brain power and intelligence to do so. We just bizarrely decide to not every year.
Do you hear that too, Tiki? Go over to the Americas and start focusing with Trump. Stop spending your time over there in Europe. That's what you need to do. Look, talking about Britain, bringing it back to Britain, this great Britain that we should be having, but my God, we don't anymore. Bringing it back to Britain, what can British people do? There is so much talk about unemployment. There's so much talk about Brits not wanting to work, and Brits not wanting to work the jobs that they perceive as below them. Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, he went on the airways the other day and was talking about the British jobs that British people don't want to do, and that's why they had to be outsourced and all those sorts of things. I mean, are Brits inherently lazy? Do we just not want to do the jobs that are below us and think we need to be doing the ones that are high managerial levels or stuff like that? I mean, my first job was a cleaner. I was a cleaner at school, would stick around a couple of hours after school, clean the desk, clean the toilets. Yes, my friends would say, how was it, or whatever. But it was money in my pocket. It was money in my pocket at the end of the day. At the end of the week, I ended up with more money than them that I could then go and spend starting to enjoy the freedoms of life.
Completely,
That's surely what Brits have got to get into. Frankly, if you are unemployed and you need a job, you cannot go on the benefits line. You need to be getting down to the job centre and taking whatever you're offered.
Well, I have thoughts on the last thing you said about the job centre and how that process works, because I have first-hand experience with how actually the job centre makes it quite difficult for people there. But yes, if you as a Brit want to start out in the world at an entry-level job, there are plenty of jobs going that I guess the British population perceive themselves to be above, which is why we then get high levels of immigration to come in and fill those gaps, because those jobs still need to be done by someone at those wages. But I think there's another focus, there's another problem, which is the focus on getting a university level education, even if you're not cut out for university. And I think that's a massive mindset set shift that needs to happen, that not everyone needs to go to university. Some people will not benefit from spending 3 years studying just any random degree to get a taste of living adult life, and actually start working some jobs, no matter what low entry level they are, to get some experience. And that teaches you so much more about life and practical skills and how to balance your own budget, how to, plan for a family, start saving for a deposit for a house. Spending those 3 years at university is not for everyone, and the people that choose to go down a trades route or some other route often find themselves, like a degree apprenticeship route, often find themselves ahead at the same stage as the people that went to university, because frankly there are so many university graduates that the salaries for university graduates have stopped going up as well. There's not really a material difference.
It was one of the few things that I agreed with Theresa May when she was Prime Minister. I mean, does anyone remember the time when she was Prime Minister? One of the few things, it feels so long ago now, one of the few things that she did that I actually really supported was trying to get the attitude out that you do not have to go to university, and there are other courses, and in promoting that and expanding that, saying there are other paths through life than go through school, go through sixth form, go to uni, and then get out in the world of work. actually there's other ways to do it. It's one of the few things that I give her some credit for. The Brexit deal, not so much. But no, I mean, it's university is another massive thing where the economy is starting to take a hit on it. We've seen universities cutting jobs, universities making cutbacks, and obviously one of the final things that Rishi Sunak's government tried to do was a big grand review. We love those reviews of what courses are worth their weight. Do you think universities at the moment are just overinflated with tons of courses that are frankly irrelevant, and actually they just want foreign students because they can charge an arm and a leg?
Yeah, I think it's even more insidious than that. Completely agree on the foreign students part, because they can have uncapped fees at master's level, whatever. It's the entryway that's attracted to foreign students because they think it will get them a job here. But on the other side, a lot of the Mickey Mouse degrees are being done by domestic students at, like, I wouldn't even say B, but like C and D tier universities, that mean absolutely nothing. And I think young people find this immense pressure to just go to university and sat around, for lack of a better term, for 3 years, delay the start of their adult lives, delay having to make any actual decisions of thinking about what am I good at, what am I skilled at. Actually, I'll just go and like half-ass a university degree in marketing or something instead. And that really delays the start of people receiving economic benefit for themselves and the country seeing economic benefit from that. So then why wouldn't you go and select people like foreign nationals that have come here to do to pay a lot more for doing their degrees, and they will take lower wages because they are desperate for a visa? Why would you choose a domestic student studying a very like nonchalant degree over someone that's paid a lot of money and really has an incentive to work hard and stay in the country?
Yeah. Well, look, final few questions I've got for you. If you were giving the UK a rating at the moment, let's say university rating of the state of the economy, would it be a first? Would it be a 2-1, a 2-2, a third, or maybe an Ofsted needs improvement? What would you give the UK economy at the moment under Rachel?
Oh, Jesus. It's actually possible to graduate without honours if you've done like 2 years of your course or something. So I'm going to give it that
Rachel
option.
would say that she worked at the Bank of England for the best part of a decade, when actually she means 6 years. So are we saying that she did graduate without honours because she must have worked at a bank? What would you give the UK economy? Because for me, it's pretty clear that since Labour came in charge, it's absolutely flopped.
Yes. Yeah, third class degree if they are with honours.
There you go. You hear that, Labour? You're third class when it comes to economics. Fail. You need to do it again. Don't see the principal after class. That's what they should be doing. Look, last thing I do when I'm doing these interviews is I flip them over to my guests, and I give you a chance to throw questions at me, but also to just go into a bit of detail about what is really, really passionate for you. I know that obviously economics is your big thing. You love this. This is your pet peeve. You find it so frustrating, the state of the UK economy at the moment. So I'm throwing the floor over to you. We need to create some sort of sound effect when I do like that, and it could just be like a throwing the. Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. What is your either question for me about where the country's going to, or what is the thing that you want to tell our viewers about the UK economy? Not to worry, things are going to get right, or actually they're not. Start saving it pennies and pounds.
Yeah, I'm actually curious, Matthew, if you were to go back and do it again, would you choose like the same educational route you have taken? Has it worked out for you, or would you go and do something else?
That is a smashing question. I mean, for me, I think one of the things I went to a private school as a baby, so I don't know if that technically counts, but sort of counts. Then I went to a grammar school for, I don't know what the years are, like secondary through to
secondary. Yeah,
I went to a grammar school. Love the grammar schools. Bring back the grammar schools. Need more grammar schools. I think they're great because it made people work and aspire to be the number one in the class, to be the number one, the top percent of the class. And it made you work harder, and whatever. University, I then went off to the University of Nottingham. I tried for Oxbridge. I was thinking about St Andrews, looking at Durham, all those places, but I decided to go to Nottingham. I could have made a switch, midway through to go to St Andrews or Durham, but I decided not to. And I actually think that was the perfect level university for me, because it wasn't pushing me like the Oxbridge is to be the next Einstein, or you're clearly a failure in life. But also it was still pushing you to meet certain expectations as a Russell Group university and so on. So I think that was the perfect level. And that is the big learning point that I would want others to recognize. University, if you want to go to it, can be valuable and can be good. You don't need to worry about the debt and obviously the money because, frankly, most of it's paid off by the government by the time you're 50. But then the second part,
controversial, actually,
I know.
controversial.
But
Next time, let's talk about that.
The second part for me is the fact of actually sometimes uni is worth it, but you have got to find the right level of uni for you, one that pushes you but doesn't break you. But go on, what's the controversial take on the going to university and the fees? Because
I think we could be here.
Let's get into it.
We could be here for another half an hour talking about this. That because so many people go to university on these subsidized degrees, right? Because you're not paying anything up front for it. You're then paying over the course of the next 30 or now 40 years of your life.
Correct.
What essentially ends up happening is the people that are graduating, top of their class, useful degrees, and then getting a good job afterwards, start paying back that loan at a much higher interest rate and end up subsidizing all of these people that think, I'm just going to go to university and it's going to get written off after 30 years. And, I don't have to worry about the size of my student loan and stuff. So it's actually penalizing the people that university mattered the most for. They couldn't get their jobs, high-paying jobs without university, and expecting them to pick up the buck for the rest of the population.
Frankly, you've got to go and get a job that matches the amount of time and effort you've put into the university. You cannot just go through university, saddle all this debt, and they go, actually, do you know what? Forget it. I'm going to become a vlogger.
Yes, because the high earners are going to end up paying for your bill at the end of the day, even if it gets written off after 40 years. And so it's not a graduate tax, it's not university applied. Some of my friends went to university for free because their parents paid up front, and I'm going to spend the next 20 years of my life trying to pay down my debt. So we have to decide, government has to decide, does it want to do that? Does it want to unfairly penalize people that couldn't afford to pay for university up front, had to take out a loan, but ended up getting a great job out of it, and is now, suffering at a high interest rate and will pay off the loan in just enough time to have paid triple, double the amount of interest? Or is it going to subsidize the people that took out a massive loan, decided to forget about it, never worked in an industry that, paid them enough for them to use their degree and, pay off any amount of the loan? It really needs to get the balance right when it comes to this, and no one's talking about it. I have a feeling in a couple more years when people in my generation that started earning a bit more, and then that percentage of their salary every month starts pinching a little bit more, and they see hundreds go out of their paycheck.
There's my money going when you look at the pay slip. Yeah.
Then it's going to be a huge scandal. Then they're going to be like, what was the point in paying this much money for my 3-year undergraduate degree?
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I'll end on.
Last, throw it open to something.
As someone that's gone back to university to get an MBA recently and is, really focused on what kind of jobs and things I'm looking for after that, much more focused about the study than I was when I was doing my physics undergrad, frankly. I think it's in everyone's best interest to delay going to university for a bit and get some real world work experience first. Try some different, entry level sectors, see what you're good at, see what you're skilled at, and what's actually worth your time. And you'll really put 100% into studying a 3-year undergraduate degree in.
Yeah.
Because not many people go to university with the right attitude, and I find that the mature students that do go in and work so much harder and end up being more successful afterwards.
Well, I completely agree with that, because one of the things my professor said to me when I was thinking about doing a master's was there's 2 types of people who go and do a master's. The people who just come straight out of sixth form, straight into university, straight into the master's. They are the perfect textbook. They know everything in the book, but nothing about the real world. And then you've got the others who do their, BAs, go out into the real world for 5-10 years and then come back and do a master's. And those people not only can relearn the textbook, but also have the real world examples to put into it. So, who knows, maybe that's what I'll be doing, is adding some more debt to my pile. It's all getting paid off anyway. Well, unless I go and get a good job. Look, Mohona, Datta, thank you so much for joining me. I've really, really enjoyed our conversation. The state of the economy needs improvement. Look, You can go and follow Mohona Datta online. She's also the managing director of GetElected UK, a consultancy firm and media advisors. I very much recommend it because I'm also part of that. But massive, massive thank you for joining me. I'm really, really grateful. That was the deep dive discussion with me, Matthew Goodwin-Freeman on VoteWatch. Get involved in the comments, discussions. Tell us what you think, because two-tier Cllr and Rachel from Accounts might be listening. They're probably not. Thank you very much.